Okay, welcome to the first Hidden Cup stream. We have 10 players playing in this tournament, and they're playing each other's on new accounts, so they don't know who they're playing in each game. And as a part of this tournament, it's a task for us spectators to try to figure out who's playing behind each of the accounts. And they're all playing each other 2 times. Today we have Nerdcube and Anders with us today, and they will try to make some initial guesses for who the players are. And for this tournament, we have had a qualifier that ran in July. 28 players joined that, and it was a really tough pool. Everyone in the same pool, playing 5 games, tried to get enough points to qualify for the main event of 10 players. And GDI, Li, Tensor, Kisilu, George Shortwell, and Max qualified through this brutal qualification. Yeah, there's a lot of notable names there. Are there anyone in particular you expected to qualify from this one?
I don't know. Those are the usual names. I don't know who didn't make it, I guess. But
yeah,
those are all good players.
Yeah.
Feels like the people that you'd expect to make it were either already in the tournament or qualified.
Yeah, because there's also 4 players who already was invited to this, and they are Sevak, Deep Finesse, Jekyll, who won Terra Mystica, and the Barnaval, who is one of the inspirations behind this tournament, really, after his Tommy Salami run that happened last year.
Mm-hmm.
And for this tournament, we also have a faction pool of 24 factions. We have 3 per color, and then we also added 3 ice factions to the mix. So what I've tried to do is really gather together all kinds of Terra Mystica is a bit fractured at the moment in terms of what people play. Some play with wild madness factions settings, and some play only base games. Some really enjoy the new fan factions, and here we try to include a lot of factions from a lot of different settings, but still keeping it very basic and in terms of settings. So we run only base map and no landscapes. It'll be interesting to see which factions the different players choose based on what their backgrounds with the game are and what they usually play.
Yeah, I think the settings are real good. I just want to say, compliment you. Like, I agree that, this does a good job at like compromising between a lot of different formats. So it's pretty cool. I wish this was the arena format.
Yeah, maybe in 2030. But who knows?
I think it's just a good call to remove the fire factions above all else.
Yeah. Some people think they're completely fine, but it's all about experience. But I think they are, especially when it comes to their patterns for where they make their towns, where they're moving on the map, they're so unpredictable. While the ice factions, they usually just play where the other factions play when they have that color. So we'll take a deep dive into the players who are playing in this. I've asked them some questions in a forum, and they've answered. So thank you very much for that. Much of this is very self-explanatory, but on the little table that says amount of games on BGA, there are 2 columns, one for all games and one for season 15. And season 15 was the one season with the fan factions on the base map.
You want to share your screen real quick?
You're not seeing it?
Nope.
What? But I'm... Okay. Let me see.
Oh, it's just showing Zoom.
I'm pressing the share button, but nothing happens. Can Can the stream see it, by the way? Do any of you see the stream chat also?
Yeah, no, I'm watching the stream. Like, I can't see it over Zoom or on the stream.
Oh, no. But I got it shared, but if it's maybe it's not visible. Share. Yeah, nothing is happening when I click the button anymore, which is worrying. I don't know.
I have the option to share my screen. Do you have a link you can send to me and I could try?
Maybe I should just leave and then come back. This makes sense why it's not working. Yeah, but it's a big file. I can't really send it on Discord. It's too big. But maybe I should just leave me. Because the share button just simply doesn't work at the moment. So I think I have to leave.
All right, yeah, try leaving and come back.
Yeah, let's try this.
And everyone just gets to look at us for a little bit.
Yeah, well, we can. Have you been looking through the games? I'm scrolling through Walter the Walrus's games right now, seeing if any good patterns come to mind.
I haven't looked at the games. I've only looked at the faction selections, and they're kind of chaotic.
It's a good combination, and at the same time, even if we have a general sense that maybe like JDI or George like playing mermaids, it's also only 10 games, and you just never know what's going to happen in the auction. Sometimes you just don't get the faction that you want because you don't think it's worth the price.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, I can see it over Zoom. We can't see it on the stream yet. So Fickles, you might have something to do there. There we go. Beautiful.
Great. Well, I just went over the qualification qualifier.
Oh, that makes more sense when you asked us. Wait, yeah, go back to this slide. Is there anyone that we thought should have made it? That makes more sense now. Wow, this was a stacked qualifier.
Oh yeah, that's a good people ended up not making the cut there.
Yeah. I guess of the people below the cut, I may be most surprised about Matt the Lesser, just because I would have expected, like, he's got tons of fan faction experience. I would have expected, like, he's a very good player who maybe would have had an edge being able to play some of the factions better than others. That's maybe the most surprising to me, but I mean, honestly, a whole bunch of good players that didn't make the cut.
To me, I'm more surprised by Mellison, I guess, who also he's a strong player, but he's also very consistent. And I know he like plays a lot with Jekyll and that sort of like friendly game crowd. So I would have thought that he'd be sort of at a similar level, and maybe he just doesn't have the fan factions background.
Yeah, I saw late in his qualifier games, he had finished 4 games, and I saw he was left on Akir's. That looked rough suddenly. But, well done to the players. I don't think there's many Terra Mystica players who say this would be easy to qualify for. But let's talk about the ones who made it and the ones who are playing here. As I said, the amount of games on BJ table that shows. I ranked all the players from first to 10th of how many games they played. So JDI here, he played most games out of anyone on BJ. So he's first. And then on season 15, that's the one season where it was fan factions on base map. So that's the random season that resembles the settings the most for our tournament. So he plays the 6th most amount of games in that season of the 10 players. Just to explain that. So what do you know about JDI?
JDI plays a lot of games. He's played Deep Finesse 109 times. It's wild.
So JDI has the most games, but he's not the busiest player right now. I was looking at who's played the most over the last couple of years, and Max and Deep Finesse have both played more than JDI. So I think maybe the reason that he has the most games is just, or not just, but to some extent, just that he started in 2018, whereas other people maybe got more into it during COVID. So
yeah, JDI, like when I started playing in 2020, JDI was kind of like one of the legends, best players at that time, right? Like I think Ranier, Zorus, and JDI were like some of the folks that were considered like, or like who had been a previous #1 ELO player. So JDI has just been around for a while, and like I would guess based on that has maybe like quite a bit more experience with like the base factions, like I don't know, the base factions, base map, no landscapes, kind of like what the settings were back in 2018, 2019, 2020. Probably has the most games like on those of anyone.
He also, the factions that he favors in general are sort of the more standard factions like nomads, witches, mermaids. I always when I started playing, there was JDI and there was another guy also from China, Wizbiz, WZVZ, and then a bunch of numbers. And they both played a ton of witches and they were both very, very good. So I do kind of think of JDI as a witches player, but there's a lot of nomads, witches, mermaids. So I think that's what we'd be looking for.
Jesse. Well, if you started in 2018 and you started in 2020 in Nerdcube, then it was already a legend after 2 years. That's pretty impressive, if you ask me.
I guess there's a lower bar for being a legend, but
maybe.
We've gotten a little bit better since 2020, I think.
Let's move on to Halai, who also barely made it into the main event.
Halai is kind of my nemesis, I guess. My like old school nemesis. Like, I don't know. I would say like when I was playing Terra Mystica the most, when I was like at the peak of my skill, Halai was like pretty easily the player I was most afraid of, just because he was like so good, but like so weird and unpredictable. Like probably I might say the most distinctive player in the tournament in terms of like play style, just like, I don't know. I know Andas thinks he's got a soul read on which one to lie, just because like, I don't know, like the factions he picks, the way he plays, like it's just definitively weird, or you know, like I still can't predict it, but it's just like definitively different. Yeah.
The thing about Halai also is that he enjoys giants. It's not like he puts in giants and like, you know, maybe someone else is going to play him. Halai puts in giants and then he plays them. I was crunching some numbers earlier, and Halai has pretty much as many Ice Maidens games as the other 9 people combined.
Wow.
So
wow.
He's got 2 big factions, Ice Maidens and Giants, and I think maybe if we look at who's been playing those in the tournament so far, who's been putting them in, we can start to maybe take a guess at which one of these accounts is manned by Halai.
Well, spoiler alert, the players really like Ice Maidens and they really like Giants, so we'll see both factions present here.
There's been a lot of Ice Maiden, yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say too that it's a bummer that we didn't. Well, it's a small bummer that we didn't get the variable factions in, because that is like, if there's one thing Halai's known for, it's like playing shapeshifters. And so I was actually curious. I was going and scouting because Halai played on Snellman, has been playing for a really long time since before PGA Terra Mystica was around. And I think the number that I've come up with is that Halai has won 7% of all of the Halai has 7% of all the shapeshifter wins on Snellman. So yeah, like Halai has a play style and sticks to it.
Well, I sent out a form for all the qualifier players for feedback, and he specifically said, I would like to see the variable factions added in. So I don't think it's happening if it happens again. So that speaks to what you said. Then we have Tensor, which is maybe the most surprising one to qualify. The ELO shown here, by the way, is their peak from the last month. So he has a peak of 500, while we have Barnaval coming later, which has a peak of 800. So pretty big gap.
I think with Tensor, he also had a very strong performance at Terra Mystica. So it could be one of those things where maybe he doesn't try that hard a lot of the time, or he's multitasking. I know that sometimes when people are playing Terra Mystica, they're also maybe doing their work for grad school or potentially playing some other online game at the same time. So it could be that Tensor is just a little bit better than his ELO indicates, and he's been multitasking, or he just hasn't been putting in the effort. But then when a tournament comes about or something more serious comes about, he locks in and tries a little bit harder.
Yeah, for context, Tensor was one of only a handful of people to score a perfect 18 qualifier score at Terra Mystica. So basically, we did the 6-3-1-0 scoring, played 4 games, drop your worst, and so basically Tensor won 3 games in the qualifiers to advance to the semifinals, and was only, I think, myself and Mellison were the others to do that. So that was kind of a little bit out of nowhere. I feel like that, that was Tensor bursting onto the scene, and now obviously making it through the gauntlet of qualifiers. So yeah, definitely a newer player to the scene that we probably don't know as much about, but who's obviously turns it on for tournaments.
Yeah, but it says he played since 2018, so but he hasn't played that many games on VGA.
Yeah, I was looking at the stats, and I found maybe 100. It was 105 games for Tensor going back to January 1st, 2022, which was the 3rd fewest, sort of. It could also be seen as the 2nd fewest because I removed all the friendly games, which moved Jekyll beneath him, I think. But the point is, Tensor plays less than most other people. And I guess the auxiliary point that I sort of brought up is that Jekyll plays a lot of friendly games. But the main point is that he just doesn't play that many games. Looking at the data, he did play more fan factions or relative to other people, he's played more fan factions, which I think maybe indicates that he had his big playing streak during the fan factions arena season, especially because a lot of them are enlightened. So
oh yeah, well, we don't talk about them here.
Yeah, but he's been playing fan factions. When I'm looking at the stats for most people, it's all the regular factions up top and then the fan factions underneath it. And when I'm looking at his games, Tensor's got a lot of fan factions mixed right in. So I think what that means is that he's been playing plenty of fan factions arena and just fan factions in general.
Yeah. Well,
so
he's the big underdog here in this tournament, and it will be so cool to see when we reveal all the players and we have this mysterious guy in top 4, we don't know who he is, and it could be Tensor. That would be a big moment. We'll see. Moving on to Casilu, which is another fairly new player. In terms of my knowledge, at least.
Yeah, I don't know much about Casilu. I went back and looked, and I've played against him twice, beat him both times, so I don't know, can't be that good. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like he's been someone who's like grinded a lot of arena games in the last year or so when I've been playing less. That was just what I briefly got from looking through his games history. I don't know if you have more stats
Yeah,
on
that's
this.
definitely true. He's played a lot of arena recently, and then this season in particular, he played the second most after Deepness. So you should
I've
know the fan
also
factions very well.
I've got some stats on Gazilo as well. He's 4-1 against me, so he's undoubtedly one of the greatest players to ever do it. He also enjoys he Alchemist is his most played faction since 2022. But he also plays Giants, so he's not afraid to play the less popular factions or even the less stereotypically strong factions. And also, just to quickly compare that to Tensor, two of Tensor's top three factions are Cultists and Darklings. So stylistically, we could see, Tensor plays the stereotypically strong stuff, Kazilo plays the stereotypically weak stuff. That's something that we could look for.
That's interesting that in the qualifiers, played a fan faction for all 5 games. Like that's pretty wild.
Yeah, he definitely knows them pretty well. And I played him a bit, but I've never been able to pin down which factions he plays. He plays a lot, so don't sleep on him at all. He's a pretty good player. So
yeah,
we'll see.
1-0 against Halai. That's never play Halai again. That's a record to be cherished.
Yeah, and he also played Eddie quite a lot, so that speaks to how much he plays arena.
Yeah, it's kind of funny seeing like just a common theme of a lot of these is like players that have a bunch of games against Deep Finesse and then few to no games against like Jekyll and Barnawal. Like
Yeah,
common thread there.
you can just see like the different pools of players, like the players who play like more turn-based curated games versus like the arena players.
Yeah, it's very cool to see them play each other. Yes.
And I think the arena warriors just get more games in overall. Like, I don't know, I don't know if this applies to everyone, but sometimes you have a slow day at work and you've played 4 arena games before the end of the day. Whereas like with the turn-based games, even if you have like a bunch of free time, it doesn't translate to playing more games. So yeah, anyway, more data on the arena warriors. George Shortwell, 2013.
He's played since the dawn.
He's really got the resume in terms of like if there's a way to play competitive Terra Mystica, I think George has done it.
He has a career in this.
And has won most of those too, right? Like like I think he's won a Madness League, TM Tour, Mind Sports Olympiad, finalist at Terra Mysticon. Yeah.
He came very close to winning Terra Mysticon, had some people fooled, but yeah, I mean, he's run the gauntlet and he's participated in a bunch of events too.
It's very notably, he only played base factions in the qualifier. He has no games in the fan faction arena season.
That does not mean that he doesn't play them though, because he's got a handful of Shapeshifters games. And it seems like he's tried most of the fan factions, but maybe didn't stick with them outside of Goats and Children of the Worm. He hasn't played more than 1 game with any other fan faction. So maybe just not for him. Not something he likes.
I know George has been a pretty strong advocate for like the Fire and Ice factions. So I'd assume that he's at least pretty proficient with the Ice factions. Like maybe more so than the fan factions, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have the most like soul read on George's playstyle besides just like he's just really, really good. Like just like very accurate player who can like I would say like can play the gambit of factions, willing to like, play Darklings from 10 points if that's the right move, willing to play like sandwiched Orin, like can just kind of like find a way to like make any faction playable in the right situation.
He's also we haven't said it yet, but he's known for the Water 2 stuff. He's always been a big fan of that. He played Water 2 Orin, I think, in Terra Mystica. Obviously, I think it's pretty bad. Just not good play in general.
Well, the real way we'll know is we need another player to take Water 2. Like, we need someone to take Water 2 in a game, and then whichever username types nice in chat, that's George Orwell.
That's a weakness to this fighting. Well, I have to bring up, I talked to Chris Harris, who ran the Fire and Ice ladder back in the day. And he said that George Shortwell, we won the last season final of that ladder. And his two last moves were taking Word 2 and then using it. And then he was a champion.
Wow.
So
that's all it takes to win.
That's a way to end it, at least. He also won the Fjords League at least once. So he knows the Fire and Ice factions. And then we have Max, who won the qualifier with 22 points out of 30. What do you know about this player in terms of playstyle?
Yeah, I don't know. I've played against Max a bunch. Bit of one of the arena warriors, I would say. Like has played a lot of games specifically in arena. I would guess because of that, he's pretty comfortable with fan factions. I mean, I see a few fan factions that he played with in the qualifiers, and just like because there was one or two seasons in a row of fan factions, I would guess that he's just like got as many fan factions games as anyone else.
Oh yeah, I mean Max just has a lot of games. He plays a lot, and he also, I think Max and I have a pretty similar style where we're really trusting. Like we're not super aggressive about. We don't think that other people are going to make sort of harmful moves to both of us. And then we both get kind of surprised and disappointed if someone ends up harming us themselves. Apparently, there's a rumor going around that he's not a big fan of the fire factions. I don't know if we're joking about that yet.
Yeah.
He's a strong player. His real thing, I think, a way that something I would look out for is that he loves fakirs. He's good at fakirs. He puts them in. He plays them, and nobody has done that in this tournament, as far as I'm aware.
No love for fakirs.
So that would have been something nice to look for, because Max loves the fakirs, but I guess not.
But I gotta bring up his win with Trash Dalla in the qualifier, because he was the only one to play them there. And that was before the buff as well, and he managed to win that game. Pretty interesting game by him there. So I guess he feels pretty confident with them going to this tournament main event. But a lot of people are playing them. So
yeah, well now everyone's now everyone loves them. I think the Wisps thing is pretty interesting, but it doesn't look like there are any Wisps games going on right now. I mean, he played them twice and then didn't put them in any of his games, so that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, they were picked so much in the qualifier, and it almost seems like a reaction to that. No one picks them in the main event. So.
Or it could just be someone's picking mermaids before you can put the Wisps in, because we're seeing a lot of mermaids, like really a lot of mermaids.
Yep. Let's move on to the first invited player, Barnwell. Who is this guy with Extra?
He's pretty solid. Of average player.
Yeah, I would give him reasonable, maybe 11% odds to win the whole thing. Like, he's all right.
I'd say it's about 1 in 10. It's about the same for everyone, really. Everyone maybe lower than the people who qualified through the qualifier, because they've shown off that they can play at a high level, and Barnwell really hasn't played in this format, so he's sort of an unknown.
Yeah, I feel like you should have invited Tommy Salami over him. Like, Tommy Salami's probably the best 800 rated player in the world right now.
It's true.
Well, there's a lot of questions. there's a lot of questions to how much he played the fan factions. But I have to point out here that even though Deepness won that arena season on base map with fan factions, Barnwell has the best win rate of 80% wins in his 15 games he played on his Tommy Slamy account. So don't sleep on him there.
I've combined Barnwell and Tommy Salami. I've got 116 games that I'm looking at, and his most played by a good amount, not a huge amount, is Halflings. 16 Halflings games, and the second most is Witches. And then I also played a game not too long ago with Nerdcube and Barnwell and a fourth player. It could have been you, Eric, actually. Where Barnwell played Tall Halflings. Was that you?
Maybe. I think I remember that one.
So that's Barnwell. He likes to play Halflings. He likes to play Tall. He scores a lot of points also, which, like, I guess some people, when they look at performance, they look at average. I think it's not a solved thing. Is it better to look at average placement, like first, second, third on the table, or is it better to look at overall score? I personally think that overall score is maybe a better metric than how many games you win. But arguments to be made either way. But the point that I'm making here is that when you look at the average final score for the players here, of the 10 people who made it, their average final score is around 155, and Barnwell's is around 165. There's just no way around it. Like, he does score higher than most people. If you look at, he scores higher than everyone. If you look at the number of, like, 200 plus games that he's had, it's probably as many as everyone else combined. He's putting up big scores. So it's too early to tell with all the games that are going on. But if you look at maybe if someone seems like they're on track for 195, could be the man with the turkey leg.
And I think specifically, like, I guess related to playing Tall a little bit, like, I feel like part of Barnwell's thing is just like following the track. Like, if you broke down that score, I would assume that Barnwell has like the biggest gap in like number of points scored on the track compared to everyone else, right? Obviously, like, hard to do that data, but like, I don't know, he's just someone who, when I've watched him, it's just kind of like does a lot of things that I wouldn't do, where it's just like, oh, I don't know, like round 2 is a trading post round, so build some trading posts. And it's like, that's never a thing I would do. And yet, like, Barnwell's just kind of like building the buildings the track says, and it like just like works out for him way better than it ever does for me. But
here's a quick question. Are those the scoring tiles?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, I hate to go against the grain here. I've real quick looked at the average of VP awarded via scoring tiles, and actually Barnwell is a little bit below average, but they're all about the same. The range is from a bit over 27 to almost 31.
Okay.
I'm actually surprised at how little variance there is there, more than anything.
Yeah, interesting.
I think we have to move on to the next player, which is Sevak from Finland. He's played since 2013. So what do you know about this fella?
He's the GOAT. I don't know, just kind of the godfather of like Terra Mystica strategy. I feel like, so I started playing Terra Mystica originally in like 2016, and like, you know, was one of the players I would just go like religiously look at Sebak and Snellman, right? Just like look at all his old games. He was like invented so much of the early strategy. So I think when it comes to like the base factions, like if you're talking about like base factions on base map, no landscapes, like Sebak has like the most experience and is probably like definitively the best player at that format. When you throw in, you know, the fan factions and stuff, you know, probably gets a little bit muddier, but like I would expect him to have a pretty strong edge in this tournament just because of his familiarity with like the base factions and base map. He's been playing them forever and has been the best at them forever.
Yep. He's He's also an Earth 2 warrior. That's something that might be worth looking at. He takes it more than most people, I think. Yeah, and I think when we think about who's kind of the first dominant player, there's only one option, and everything we know now is, if maybe we would have ended up in the same place, but it's definitely been accelerated by Sevak just laying the groundwork. That said, also if you look at the head-to-head records, I don't know, he's 2-0 against Barnwell, but it's like pretty even with Deep Finesse, slightly negative against JDI, who's also been around for a while. So certainly like the first person to do it right, but I think in general, the top players they've sort of caught up to him. So I don't know if that's going to provide us anything when we're guessing. Something that other people mentioned is that he likes the conspirators.
Yeah, he seemed to like a lot of the weaker fan factions. And I have to say, when it comes to fan factions and Sevak, he's playing games with them that no one else is really doing. I saw him playing a Stronghold opening with Children of the Wyrm.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
On Fjords, and I haven't seen other games like that. And in general, he plays games that I think maybe he's experimenting this now, or maybe he just tried this in 2015 many times and knows it works. It's really impressive to watch him play.
Oh yeah, he's not afraid to experiment, and he thinks through the lines too. So even the first time he does something, he's not just like flinging poop at the wall. There's intention behind it, and it is sort of methodical. Something I want to bring up about Zevak is, for the fan factions, his two most played are Architects and Chashdala. He was all right with Chashdala even before the update. He put up, I think it was like 195 points with an Earth 2 Chashdala Fjords game. And now they're only better than that. So I know that he liked them before they were updated. I wonder if he likes them less now that they're kind of a little overpowered. But he definitely at least used to like them.
Yeah, that was, I think, like on Snellman as well. That was a little bit of Zevak's like MO, was like factions like giants that like people avoided because they were weaker. People didn't quite know how to play them. Zevak was like one of the early players who was like, I mean, this was without auction, like taking giants and beating top level players, with giants starting at the same point. So like giants, nomads, factions like without necessarily internal scoring, or that weren't seen as good as like cultist darklings. So yeah, a little bit of a like off meta player.
Yep, maybe a little bit of a hipster too. Looking at his top played factions, like he's played more alchemists than darklings. He's played more dwarves than engineers. Maybe he likes the lesser used side of the board, which is always cool to see. And there's always a lot to learn from it too, because you learn from experience, and we just don't have as much experience with these weaker factions because they're weaker. So.
Well, moving on, we have Jekyll, which I've never played against her. So do you have any info on her?
Yeah, I've not played Jekyll a ton. I feel like Jekyll has probably one of the better like games spectated to games played ratios of anyone on this list. Like Jekyll is like always around the scene, like always like tuning into stuff, spectating games. Has played like relatively few herself. But I mean, Jekyll is so strong. I get kept up at night because of the Halflings game she played against me at Terra Mystica. I think like playing it over my head, I legitimately think like she played like the only winning line kind of thing. It was like a very precise, like had to make exactly the sequence of moves. Otherwise, Halflings were in a terrible position. So I think she's a very like creative player. Like
Yeah.
That's what I would look out for, is like just like creative, interesting openings, maybe like playing the 40 faction and like finding a creative way out of it early in the opening, something like that.
I'll say from my perspective, I have only played Jekyll twice, and they were both 2v2 games. So no insight for regular mode. The other thing about Jekyll is that she's hard to get data on because most of her games are friendlies. Maybe not most, but a lot of them. They're just so disproportionately very high level games, and I think turn-based usually. So yeah, I haven't actually played a real game of TM against her. So no insight from me other than her. I remember the worker dig on the Earth 2 Halflings game, the worker dig into the temp ship bonus. I remember that was just a really cool line that she had. So.
Well, a little spoiler for the games coming up here. We have so many hard days in round 1 of these games.
You love to see it.
From many players, so well, a lot of players. So we'll see. But I got to say, her head-to-heads against these players, she's really going toe-to-toe with them all. Even have a 4-0 against LI, so yeah, she's strong. Moving on, we have Deep Finesse himself. And I would say maybe the favorite to win the whole thing here, out of anyone.
Actually don't know much about Deep Finesse. Have you heard of this player on us?
He's got an 86% win rate against Eddie 7125. So that's 5 out of 6 games, which is it's a bit worse than 5 out of 6. So pretty solid. I think maybe against Eddie, it'd be nice you'd want to be aiming for the 90s, but he's clearly decent, I'd say.
Not many have 90% against Eddie, just to say that.
He also is Deep Finesse the first person with a fully filled in head-to-head table?
Let me check real quick. Tensor got a full table. And GDI.
And JDI, okay. Yeah, I mean, this has got to be the most games against the other competitors so far. I guess in part driven by his apparent JDI rivalry, but he's played a lot of games.
Definitely.
His playstyle has also sort of changed over time, maybe with the rest of us. I remember back during sort of COVID era, everyone was doing Earth 1 a little bit more, especially at the top. And I think he's drifted farther away from Earth 1 over the past few years. I played a game with him in Barnwall recently where he won with a Fire 1 Witches. It was just a nice, clean Fire 1 game. He does it all. He's consistent. He plays a lot, and he's consistent.
Yeah, when you're talking about like changing play style, I feel like one thing I remember is that there was an era where I feel like Deep Finesse was throwing like halflings or Orin into almost every game, just kind of as a like, I bet I can play these better than you all, I think was kind of the vibe. And I don't know if he does that as much anymore, maybe because like everyone's caught up a little bit and knows how to play them as much. Like I think he's a very like opportunist, like you said, consistent, like we'll play anything. And like I know there was also an era where he was like putting in a lot of color sandwiches just kind of as a like, I think I can play out of this better than anyone, so I feel like, yeah, he'll just kind of like, he enjoys like putting opponents in challenging situations and just kind of like, I think I'm better than you, I can do this.
Well, what you're saying about Orin, maybe it's partially a challenge, but partially that he likes Orin because he does play a lot of Orin. I think maybe the community at large sees Orin as worse witches, but I personally don't agree. I'm curious what Deep Finesse thinks about it, but I think he does just like Orin.
Yeah.
Do we have any?
He also
any
commentates. Yeah, we have at least.
Oh yeah, the Hex Thief Penguin is the only person to put Orin into the game and to play Orin. So definitely not conclusive, but I might start.
If I remember correctly, the Penguin also really wanted them, so we'll see.
Okay. That's good enough for me. I'm ready to act on almost no knowledge. So, I mean, I'm putting this in my text file right now. Locked it in. He's the Hextech Penguin.
So here we have the 10 players and the 10 accounts they made. And let me just go through it real quick. I asked them to pick one animal and then add a name that consists where the name of the animal is a part of it. And then add a profile picture and a country where that animal lives in real life. So they made these names themselves. However, one player didn't want to make one, so I made one for them. And 2 players, I edited it a bit what they came with, and then we figured out something together. So just keep that in mind. But are there any names here you're just thinking, oh, that has to be this player?
Can you tell us which one's the one you created? Are you willing to reveal that?
No.
Oh, because that's totally Zevok.
Maybe.
Oh, you're laughing. It's right.
I have a very big task here to keep my poker face going all the time. It's hard. But enough about that. Go on.
I kind of get Bob the Combat Wombat vibes from George Shortwell. I feel like George Shortwell's just like a funny guy, a little bit of a memer, and Bob the Combat Wombat is like the funniest name. So that's my...
Wait. Do they picked their own names? It wasn't randomly assigned after the accounts were made?
No, they made their own names, and I made the accounts for them.
Okay.
Once they made the name and signed in.
Are we noticing that there's only one girl's name on the list?
There's 2.
Gonna have to check. Oh, Ellen? Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and say maybe Jekyll's one of the 2 girls. That's not really a Terra Mystica analysis, but
it's a name analysis.
Taking in all the data, and especially considering that the other girl's name is Halai, that Ellen is.
So there's a couple neutral ones, a sad panda, hex thief penguin,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but yeah.
Yeah.
Good detective work.
Just quickly, here's the faction picks for the tournament. No one dared to put in the Selkies, which is the one kind of madness faction in this. No one picked that one, and there's no Fakirs, no Swarmlings or Wisps, and no... Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, well, how could you put in Swarmlings and Wisps? I mean, mermaids are already in the game.
No, this is some good high-level Terra Mystica play. Throwing in mermaids from an early seat to block out Swarmlings. These players know what they're doing.
Yeah. But there's a pretty even distribution between base factions and fan factions. So they're really picking the fan factions since there are only 8 of them. So, and now we're going to dig into their faction picks in terms of base factions, fan factions, or ice factions. What do they prefer? And here I made this chart for base factions, so where you can see which ones they picked and which ones they ended up playing. And you can see, for example, the bird Kara picked base factions 5 times and then ended up playing them 3, and so on. What are your initial thoughts when looking at this chart?
I don't know, a little hard to get too much out of this. I think, like we talked about, there's like a lot more like specific factions for players. Like all these players have played the fan factions, and they're all good enough to, like, you know, even if they haven't played them a ton, to like pick up on them during a game. So I feel like I would be more inclined to like make judgments based on specific factions than just the fan factions, base factions split.
Yeah.
Although that said, let me quickly run the numbers. No, never mind. Changed my mind.
Yeah, okay.
I agree with everything that Eric just said.
Then we move on to the fan factions, and here it's more clear that there's at least one player who is not playing them and not picking them. Meanwhile, the giraffe is playing them a lot and picking them a lot too.
Yeah, who of all the players did we say would be like least fan factionsy?
I think probably if someone's not playing the fan factions, it could be because he's playing the Ice Maidens or the Giants.
Moving back to your arguments earlier.
Yeah. So yeah, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. But if we think that this elephant is played by Halai, that could also make a lot of sense because Halai also, has not played as much, I think, over the last year when fan factions have been more dominant. So, like that would make a lot of sense to like not play fan factions and fall back into Giants, Ice Maidens.
He got a bit of an ugly statistic in the arena season. He played 4 games and didn't win one of them. So don't underestimate him because of that. But we'll see. Because here we have the Ice factions picked and played.
That's interesting.
And someone likes the Ice factions.
Does he also enjoy the Giants? By any chance?
We'll see. But I just want to ask, you've thrown up Halai here. What other names could this potentially be if it's not Halai?
Yeah, if it's not Halai.
I think Barnawal likes Ice Maidens. Like Barnawal's been pretty vocal about enjoying like a tall Ice Maidens game. So I think like he's the only other player that stands out to me specifically for Ice Maidens.
Yeah. Well, here we can see all the factions they picked and which one they ended up playing. And if you see 2 factions above and under each other, like for example with El and Allegrant, what we just talked about, have played the faction they picked 5 games. So they ended up bidding a lot on the factions they threw into the auction. There's a lot to talk about. Have you looked at this already, maybe?
Yeah, I've looked at this a bit. I think that's Ellen's the one that stands out the most. Like, and I feel like someone pointed this out in one of the discussion channels of just like Halai has also been a player that will like bid heavily on like a faction. Like that's kind of like a play style thing. It's just like identifies a good faction, puts them in, bids them heavily, like just like maybe from the Snellman days when you just got to play the faction you put in. It's like I don't want any of this auction crap. I'm playing Ice Maidens.
Well, I think also with Halai, like some people play to win more than others, some people play to have fun more than others, and Halai's just like he's playing to play the game. I think maybe when he's putting in the faction, it's because he thinks it'll be fun to play it, and when he bids it down, it's because he doesn't really care if he wins. So I think that would also sort of explain that.
Yeah, but you guys seem pretty certain on your Halai pick for Elon. But are there any other players that are like sneaking out of this chart? If you have to make some bold claims.
Just like to make a bold claim that I started making earlier, only one person put in the Orin and he ended up playing it. So that's Deep Finesse. Or sorry, that's the Hex Thief Penguin, which if I had to, I don't think we really, if it were a high stakes betting matter, I wouldn't put any money down on it, but I would definitely have Deep Finesse as my front runner for the Hex Thief Penguin, just because who else really loves Orin?
But how about the Duck here, who's playing Mermaids 3 games here, or picked them 3 times and playing them 2 times? Or anyway, you just think Mermaids more than other players.
Yeah, I looked at the data a little bit, and JDI, Tensor, and George are the big three mermaids players. I think maybe those were the only three people with mermaids in their top three most played. So
yeah, I was gonna say George vibes for this one. I think George is someone who is maybe, forgive me if I'm wrong about this, but who has like spoken out about not liking swarmlings also, so maybe more likely to throw in mermaids to try to block a swarmlings pick. And I also mentioned like George is like an advocate of the Fire and Ice factions, and we see an Ice Maiden's pick and play there too. So that's a couple like, that's intriguing.
I'm loading up the games right now. The very first one that I clicked on for Scrooge John Duck, he is playing mermaids and he's got water too. So
just a
just
just a big flag, just throw it up in the sky. Yeah. And did anyone else say nice in chat?
The chat's been quiet for some reason.
They're not allowed to chat. So
give it away.
no chatting.
Yeah, but for George, it's involuntary, like screw the rules.
It just happens. I wonder if I should let them chat to each other and just see what happens. Just have a lot of fun with it. At one point, I had Eddie in the tournament, and I could just imagine what would happen then. But yeah. Well, there's a lot of Cash Della here. There's 2 players playing them twice.
Wait, sorry, I got one more thing too. Isn't George Shortwell like a reference to, is it Around the World in 80 Days or something?
No, it's just George Orwell, the author.
But I thought.
And his real name is Stephen Short.
Okay. I thought it was some reference. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. No, I'm thinking of who was that other, sorry. There was that other old like 700s Smurf that we never figured out who it was. Phileas Fogg.
Phileas Fogg, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Anyways, but George Orwell, and we've got Scrooge Duck. Like that's just another like literary reference, right? That's maybe an interesting parallel. I put Bob the Combat Wombat on George Shortwell when we were looking at the names, but that could be a bit of a flag.
Does George Shortwell play Ice factions much?
Yeah, I mean, he played Fire and Ice Ladder.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah,
I got a ton of experience there.
Yeah. So
did he also do fan factions, and he'd put in architects first?
Seems reasonable enough. I don't know.
Does he?
Again, this is my incredibly low stakes bet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, get him one of those, please.
Yeah.
That would be great. Yeah. But what about the Cash Della players there? We have at least 2 players who played them twice.
Yeah, Rick Patterson Star. Josh Dalla Giants. And 2 Time Travelers picks. I see some Zevok vibes in Rick Patterson Star, right? Like we said, he likes Josh Dalla. We've got 2 dwarves picks, which you said on us, like he's someone who likes dwarves more than engineers. We do see an engineers pick, but like that, also just like strong with the base factions. Like, so anyways, just seeing like, 3 gray base factions, which are always very strong, 2 Josh Dalla picks, and then, I don't know, putting in Time Travelers and picking them. They're like like a normal enough fan faction that I could see him,
You were thinking that for Zevok?
I could see it. That was just kind of my initial, just because we had called him out as one of the Josh players as well.
Yeah. He does love gray in general, but he's a fan of conspirators as well. So there were 2 people that we thought of as conspirators players. Is that one of them was Zevok, and
the Panda is playing them twice. Olaf is playing them once. And Gary and the Penguin threw them in once.
Oh, conspirators and Orin. Oh, I'm so locked in on Hex Thief Penguin being deep finesse.
Yeah. Okay, but on the other hand, Walta the Walrus. That
That's a
also
Barnwell name if I've ever heard one.
it's
Yeah,
true.
what name is
These
Walter?
these factions scream Zevok too. Also, like we said,
Really?
like Giants player, Josh Dalla player, like putting in mermaids and engineers. I don't know that. I could totally see it being Barnwell too, but like both of these feel reasonably Zevok-y. Like more so than a lot of the others, I guess, that I'm glancing around at. I'm putting my 50 cents on Zevok being one of these two.
Sorry, Walter or who?
Or Rick Pattison Star, like the two Chosh players,
Okay.
right? Like you called out that Zevok likes playing Chosh, likes playing Gray factions, likes playing Giants, like, and both of those, are kind of falling in that sphere.
What about Sad Panda? You don't think that could be Zevok? Or you think it's less likely than the others?
I guess I'd put that one up there also. Yeah.
There's also, I want to see if I can find it, but a long time ago, there was a consensus that archivists were just bad. And I always thought they were quite good. And I think it was Zevok I think Zevok was sort of agreeing that they're pretty good. I don't know. I'm not sure who plays Archivist the most.
Yeah, they're not that much picked. They're playing in 2 games, if I could recall correctly. Yeah. Anything else there you want to point out before we move on?
I don't see anything else big. I think we can get into the games.
Yeah. But first, we need to talk a bit about this naughty monkey, orangutan. Because in the 15 games, 4 of them are sandwiched games. And this monkey is responsible for this one, where he threw in nomads. He threw in architects here, sandwiched, and the Chashtala. And he also got 4 out of 4, threw in black ice maidens against brown and blue here. So he is solely responsible for all the sandwich games. Who can this be?
I said Deep Finesse likes doing that, but no, this isn't Deep Finesse because we've already pegged Deep Finesse.
It's not consistent.
Yeah,
in doing it.
So like throwing in sandwich factions is something that sometimes like slightly weaker players might do as like a tactic. If you think you're playing at the table with players better than you, throwing in sandwich factions just like throws the game out of whack a little bit. It maybe becomes more likely that, I think it just makes a game more chaotic and, that maybe therefore more likely that you get more breaks. Maybe more likely that the better players who've played more games than you, like, aren't sticking to like meta lines that they've played dozens of times before. So that's kind of my gut, is that maybe one of the players like Tensor or someone who has played fewer games is like maybe a little bit of an underdog in the tournament, is like trying to get an edge by doing wacky things.
But it didn't really end up playing a lot of these sandwich factions. So,
but it just makes the game more chaotic. It makes it difficult. Like the more you play a game, like on base map, right? Like Zevok's played thousands of games, like on base map with base factions, in what I'll call like, non-sandwich normal color wheels. Like, so I think, someone like Zevok, maybe George Shortwell, I think, right, is someone who has liked playing on Snellman, not with the auction. So these players who like, grew up on Terra Mystica playing without auction have played way more games probably on standard color wheels on base map. And so I think maybe the way you get an edge on them is by not letting them do that, right? Like, play a non-standard color wheel.
Okay, and then we head into the gameplay. We are looking a bit at the first 2 rounds of the 15 games, but we have to go through it really quick and not really go into depth. But I want to point out a few crazy lines that has popped up so far. First, I just want to show this a bit silly comparison between the 2 fast auction styles. Here we see the penguin is bidding. He wants to play mermaids. And then we have the panda. Just takes whatever for 40. So we'll see here. We have the first game here. Not that much interesting going on in terms of lines, but I want to point out the fast auction here. We see 2 players betting most on the Yetis, other than the panda and the Ellen Allegrant, who are 2 players who are playing Yetis in other games. So they are valuing Yetis in other games, but not here. That's the one thing I want to point out there. And then moving on to
question about the way the data is presented. Can you put that? Yeah. So looking at a sad panda, when it says Darklings 0 and Giants 24, he bid everything down at least 16 points is what happened. Just to make sure I understand.
It's the difference between the first and the others. So
right. I'm just saying, like, if he had, he could have done Darklings for 16, Giants for 40, etc. Right?
Yeah, but this is the first choice. It's very obvious with Ellen Allegrant, which has bid it all the way down to 40 for Giants. Ellen does not want to play Giants at all, so she used the whole range. But it's the difference from the first choice. That's the numbers.
Oh man. Ellen doesn't want to play Giants. I'm sort of rethinking it, actually. It's kind of interesting.
Don't want to play the Ice Faction either. Just playing that out as well.
No, that's a real Halai move still, though. I mean, not to fixate too much on Halai being Ellen, but I remember it was the final arena game of like the season where Halai beat me and like bid Darklings way down. It was just kind of like honed in on like Darklings as being the best and was willing to bid them down forever. So that's a real Halai move.
Yeah. And just to explain, these pictures is the first initial placements of the dwelling, and then it's round 1 up in the corner, and then it's up to round 2 further down. And in this game, we have a very interesting placement and bidding for the sad panda here on the Yetis. It's a blue Yetis, and they don't really have too many good spots to start, but they decided to go south here, a really challenging green. And if we look at the fast auction as well, all the other players are not valuing Yetis at all, except for the sad panda, who just doesn't seem to care.
That was wild. And so that was on the last one too, as well, right? Like sad panda like didn't very heavy bids, so that's
that's very interesting. And then we also see the Hex Penguin really showing the style he's bidding a lot on one faction, not often the table favorite, but bidding a lot of it and just getting it. So that's the 2 takeaways here. And we see further on in the game, we see green is having a dwelling rush and then setting up for building 4 TPs in round 2 with War 1. So that's a very cool line. While the panda is a bit stuck alone and had to build expensive TP. So that's what happened in game 2. And then in game 3, we see Walter the Walrus is having a pretty standard Architects game here until you realize he's playing the Giants. Look at that town.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that Giants town in terms of being good or bad?
Are we allowed to say? We're not supposed to talk too much about the game.
Well, we don't want to.
Okay.
We don't want to speak too much on how good things are. At
Okay.
least that's how things will go. But
I thought
almost
we were-
standard Terra Mystica rules.
It is a town round 2, it looks like, right? So I would
Yeah,
say that like
That's the point.
yeah. Although I would say like for someone like Zevak, who we talked about as a Giants player, it's like this Zevak doesn't strike me as someone who would like force this town that early. Like would probably be like Zevak's the kind of Giants player who's like get to 2 shipping and take all the red hexes. And when the towns come, they come. So I would
Also,
say Zevak is not this player, even though he is a Giants player.
also for like a town like this, either way, it's like 2 Giants digs on either B3 or B3 or D3, and then the 3 coins from the bridge could just go to being an expensive TP if you really wanted. I don't know. It looks.
Yeah.
I don't like early bridges. I think they're not good. I would expect someone who's been over 700 is probably not bridging twice. So that's all I'll say about that.
And also remember, Walter is playing Giants in another game, and they also have around 1 or 2 bridge there. So it's a common theme for this player.
Maybe he just likes bridges.
Yeah.
But I think that's a little funny. So I might put that on one of the slightly weaker players.
Yeah, they were pretty agreeable in the auction, so I don't think we should dwell too much with that one. In game 4, we have this game. The notable thing here is we have a town round in round 2, and Gary Giraffeville decided to open D2 as mermaids, but then in the middle to get early town in the west. Is this something you've seen before?
That's interesting. I don't know. I could like
Zevak likes that.
Yeah. I was gonna say like that's a big Zevak move, like double West Mermaids.
Yeah, that's funny. See, I'm looking at Twitch chat right now, and Kolas said that's a Zevak move, and I'm pretty sure he left that there like 3 minutes ago talking about something else. But
that's the thing is Zevak invented all the moves, so like they're all Zevak moves. Like if it's a good line, it's a Zevak move.
That's a Zevak move right there. Yeah.
In chess, all the openings have names after who did it first, and half the openings in Terra Mystica will be Zevak moves openings. So. Good point.
Double West Mermaids for that's Gary Giraffeville who did the Double West Mermaids.
Yeah. Here's the game where Panda didn't care really for the second time. Takes forever for cheap. And then we see the Hex Thief Pinion as well. Once again, betting for one faction a lot that the others don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting Deep Finesse vibes still from Hex Thief Penguin. We also I gave a talk at Terra Mystica with Deep Finesse where he talked about like his mental model for bidding being like thinking about 5-point increments and then maybe adjusting up or down from there. So just like the fact that his final bids are all coming out in 5-point increments like makes reasonable enough sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's spot on if you yeah, it's all 5 number increments for them. In most of the games as well. Here's the same thing in game 2, I think. Moving on, we have game 5. Here we see a very interesting starting spot for the Prospector players all the way in the south. No neighbors in the east, so it just goes south right away.
It's cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I think a few people have tried that.
Do we have enough data to know who's a South Prospectors player?
Oh, I wish. That's the dream.
Gotta be very honest. Yeah, I haven't really looked too much at these data on beforehand. But we see Gary really can take whatever he wants, he gets, while the others agree on mermaids. Yeah, but I can't really show the bonus tiles and everything here, so we can't really dig too deep into the setups. But yeah, here's how they bid it.
I would say though, like just yeah, maybe one little thing is that like because all these players playing the tournament are super good. So like it feels like they're going to they're going to do like very good things in the opening, right? And just like play like they know the right hexes to start on in the common color matchups and things like that. So then when you get some of these weird placements, I feel like that's maybe like big brain, like Zevok, Deep Finesse, Barnawal, like the best players in the world are like, like they're so good that they're like more willing to take those risks, like I don't know. That's kind of the vibes I get. It's just like, 500, 600 elo player, like I know all the good starting spots, like 700 elo player, like South Prospectors,
Yeah, let's do it. Moving on, this game hasn't really come that far. It's still in round one as the only game, and the screenshot up in the corner is just how it looks like right now. The most notable thing is Scrooge is with mermaids is going straight to 3 shipping in the dwelling round with temp ship and priest and coin action.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think also Scrooge played mermaids earlier and took water too, in this game.
Yeah, that's George. We've already figured that out.
Yeah. Okay.
Scrooge George.
Moving on. Here we go. Game 7. This has been a very interesting one because here we have the Sad Panda are playing the Conspirators against the Sandwich, but still after 2 rounds, no spades. Or after the first round. And after 2 rounds, no new dwellings at all.
Oh, that's funny looking.
Pretty interesting.
From the evaluations, this sandwich evaluations is always very similar in terms of factions, placements or order. But I'm a bit surprised to see the Conspirators only 3 better than the Mermaids there. But maybe Walter the Walrus saw that they couldn't really get spades.
This I think we said earlier that Walta, like someone said that Walta the Walrus could be Barnawal, and the whole like playing Ice Maidens, like following the track closely with the double temple opening, playing double East Ice Maidens, maybe looking at a tall game. That feels like Barnawal-esque.
I also got to mention here that Olaf, the orangutan, he's playing mermaids twice, and in both games he had these starting positions, south and in the middle.
Oh man!
And Olaf's the one that threw in the sandwich factions 4 times, right? So that I mean, like these mermaid starting positions are kind of the ones you do when you want to like, again, disrupt the other players, right? Like H4 mermaids is kind of weird, like throw them off their game.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of leech on F4, so that's interesting move. And here we see the next game where he does the same. And yeah, the interesting thing here is that Rick Patterson with the dwarfs, he dug G3 as his first move. I think it was with single spade power action. Is that something that is common in this matchup?
I don't know. There's no landscapes, right?
No.
I think doing early tunnels is usually not common.
Like
regardless.
dig plus tunnel was a big investment.
Yeah. And I mean, the reason that you do that is so you can connect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, can we see the bids for this one? I'm
Yeah.
curious. Okay, interesting.
They were pretty agreeable.
I think there's. Oh, we shouldn't discuss strategy here.
I don't think so earlier I had said that Rick Pattison, lined up with Zevak a bit. That doesn't feel like a Zevak move to me. Like single spading that green hex with your first action.
Yeah.
So I'm revoking that.
Yeah.
First time we're saying that doesn't feel like a Zevak.
Out of all the moves, this is not one of them. Okay, moving on to game 9. And here we have not that much interesting going on. We have the children starting in the north. And we have the Yetis not going stronghold, but temple for, I think it was air 2. We can see what they bidded. This is not a sandwich game. So this is 2 pairs of color neighbors.
Max plays a lot of 2-pair games. I don't know if that might be just like too insignificant a factor, but a lot of Max's games are like 2 pairs of color neighbors.
Yeah, in this game it was Scrooge who picked the last faction.
Okay. Well, sometimes after the first 3, you either have to choose a sandwich or 2 pairs. I don't know.
No, it's usually just the 4th faction that determines that, I think.
Yeah, so here's again just more evidence for her lie thing of just like we had 3 fan factions and Yetis, and I was just like, yep, Yeti, like bid Yetis all the way down. So yeah, we're locked in on that.
This is game 10. Here we have a pretty interesting game. We have another sandwich where architects are the sandwich faction, and they start with double digging the green C3. They don't have much space here. So, and when we look at the auction, everyone seemed to agree on the order, but Yetis are bidded down a lot. And they're going to take a lot of leech probably. So there's a lot of points to catch up there.
Oh man, yeah. Sandwiched architect. What's the current score? Do we have that?
The current score of no, I don't have it right here.
Okay.
But it's been I don't remember. It's been a town round, no, 2 big building rounds, and we have stronghold openings all over, other than the architects. We'll see.
I feel like I was gonna say in that one, I feel like the E3 placement's a little awkward. And the fact that architects were the 40 faction here, maybe that's not someone who wanted to play them. Maybe that's someone who like accidentally ended up playing them. So this could be someone who's like not as familiar with fan factions, not super into architects, just someone had to play them.
Because this is definitely a tough nut to crack in terms of getting a good game plan for the architects here.
Yeah. So I feel like the more meta architects thing would be to go D7, so that the fact, that says to me that this player maybe was either just trying something weird because it's a sandwich, or maybe isn't an Architects player.
Yeah, it's been weird.
D6 or D7.
Yeah, both are fine. Game 11 here, it's also pretty slow. I don't have too much to say about this.
That's another sandwich.
Yeah.
But it's sort of an agreeable sandwich.
The alchemists are bidded down to 15. Bob got them.
Everyone bid them to 0. No surprise there. And doesn't give us any data because everyone did it.
Yeah, the sandwich auctions aren't that interesting often. It's just the nuances with the numbers, how much they bid.
Well, I think it's interesting that Kara Karakara has dwarves as the least valuable, which is, I don't know, I think it's a cool bid first and foremost. To say that dwarves are worse than sandwich giants, but further,
yeah, good one.
I like that. I do like agree with it to some extent. I think it's cool. I think it's confident to do so. And I also think that against, is it archivists? Against archivists, like you probably get E8. So maybe it's not that bad. Sandwich red usually seems worse because it's against nomads, or Fakirs is going to carpet fly early.
The archivists are pretty expensive once they get their 10th trip in round 2 or something and starts going. They have so much economy if they get those right bonus tiles.
If they can, well, they need G2.
Probably...
I mean, yeah, we'll see.
And this game is maybe the most crazy of them all. Just sit tight and let me go on. First, we have Ellen Elgrand with the Ice Maiden starting in the north.
Yeah, that's a lie. Player doing something weird, definitely a lie.
Oh yeah, I've seen one of those weird guys before. Didn't recognize it anywhere.
But everyone, this is the craziest openings out of any opening. We have Bob, the Combat Wombat, on the Architects, starting with the big building tile, 2+ workers, and then 2 more with the working tile. And he hard dig first C5 ahead of the trash tile, and then he hard dug E7 afterwards. So 2 hard digs in round 1, and then a TP.
Whoa!
As an opening.
Wait, is it Act 5 in a hard dig, or is it? How could it be?
It's a worker power action and big building tile. So a lot of workers.
Wow! Oh wow! Okay.
And especially with architects who have an inherent way to dig hexes cheaply, they just hard dig. Why not?
Is Claybo in this tournament? I feel like that's a Claybo move.
Maybe he's coaching. I don't know.
We could all learn a lot from him.
And then also we have to bring up Gary Dreffel here. You can't really see it, but he started with the coin bonus card, coin and costs. So he got 1 bump on water, so he's on 3, and then he took water 1 in round 1.
Whoa!
Just to get that extra priests. And added to that, he also took Earth 1 in round 2 with another temple, and only have 1 dwelling. So that's a greedy opening.
Yeah, I would say like there's been a couple things that stuck in my memory of like Gary Giraffel doing a few like, slightly greedier, like, playing in ways that I wouldn't expect like the very like economic opening, you know, like Deep Finesse, Sevok, Barn Wall, like they tend to like play a like, you know, I want to like leave all my options open. I'd rather play, you know, a little economic. I'm gonna guess Gary Dreffel isn't one of them.
I've already locked in Gary Giraffel as Zebok for me.
Yeah. Already locked in. What? Because of that starting placements earlier. Yeah.
There were a few different Zebok indicators. He also, I think Gary is playing an Earth 2 Mermaids game.
Oh, yeah, well, that's true. I don't remember which one it was. Maybe it's one with Earth. Maybe. No.
Here's the. I've got the link. I'll put it in a Zoom chat. This is a link to the table. But yeah, I mean, we've got. Oh, that's the Double West game.
Yeah.
It's not just Double West. It's Earth 2 Double West.
That is a pretty Zebok move, I guess. I don't know.
Very interesting.
Fickles just asked in chat who's JDI, and I'd forgotten to talk about, you know, who we think JDI is and all this. I'm getting JDI vibes from Gary Giraffel.
Cool. What's the like? What about it exactly?
JDI just like he does some interesting stuff. Like I feel like he's not afraid to like experiment with placements and like I think he's a bit of an experimenter. And the Double West Mermaids, the like, you know, Cult Bump Water 1 opening, like they're just like they're interesting. They're, you know, like I said, I don't think they're things that like I would expect from you know, people doing like the by the book openings.
I do want to say I like the Water 1. I do like it. I think what you end up seeing, he builds a second temple round 2 on the temple round, which I think he was planning to the whole time. But the Water 1, in a scenario where other people aren't building temples, it means that he's going to have 2 priests going into the priest round and other people aren't going to. So maybe you end up with like a nice culty setup. And then it's also 2 temples, so presumably like, I don't know, are they both, is it Water 1 Con or is it Water 1 Earth 1?
It's Water 1 first and then Earth 1 in round 2.
Oh, so, man.
It's a very creative Mermaids game.
That's cool. Pretty like, so I'm looking at this one more, and there are 3 scoring bonuses in round 6 towns. So that, I mean, that's I don't know, that's an interesting one.
Let's move on. We have 3 more games. First, we have game 13. And here we have double water rewards. So I'm pretty sure the Hex Thief Penguin is taking Water 2 here. Looking at the bids, he really wanted to play them against a sandwich here.
Interesting bids from the Hex Thief Penguin. Yeah. You know, previously we did that was Deep Finesse, but I don't know, those don't feel very Deep Finesse bids.
Bill multiples of 5.
Yeah. 0 to 40R, in fact.
Multiples of 40, more like.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they seem to agree a lot on the order here.
Mm-hmm.
But not too much more interesting going on here. I think we just move on to game 14. And here we have a hard dig opening by Waltz to the Walrus on Chash Dala to secure himself all the way to C3. So that's a Dwelling Rush.
That feels fairly standard. I mean, not like standard, but if it's first seat and you don't have the power, Was it? I'm assuming it was hard dig E7, and then second action was Act 5 on D5.
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember.
That actually, I mean, feels kind of. I don't know. We think about hard digs as like you either do them if you're 0 or if you're 700, but that one feels like a pretty accessible hard dig.
But another thing I want to point out here is both Bob the Combat Wombat and Scrooge are delaying their temples until round 2. So we have a 2 TPs, 2 dwellings opening from Ice Maidens. And then we have something similar from Bob.
Could Bob be Barnawal? Did we talk about that? Like, you know, thinking back to the meta name here, it said George Shortwell could be Bob, but then I honed in on George's Scrooge Junk Duck. But like, again, we said Barnawal's like a kind of like by the track kind of player, or I said that, you said he wasn't honest, but and you know, we know Barnawal can,
said that.
Yeah, and we know Barnawal can come up with goofy alt names. So I don't know. Bob the Combat Wombat is like the goofiest name of these, so that's kind of a. I don't know.
Agree.
And that it feels like a Barnawal move to delay your temples.
Yeah. So a lot of temples in round 2 and a lot of scoring favors as well in this game.
All right, I think Bob the Combat Wombat is Barnawal. I'm sure of it. 100%.
We have all these like game states, and we're like, Barnawal makes goofy names. That's
Look, he's got goofy names. Come on, that's all there is to it. Also, this is like off meta for a bit, or I mean, it's not about Terra Mystica at all. But what's up with all the Yahtzee games between? Well, there are a lot of 4-man Yahtzee.
I would like to announce right now that I'm a speedrunner in Yahtzee. Simultaneous Yahtzee. If you guys don't know, if you make a new account, you can't change your profile picture before you've played 20 games.
That's what it is. Okay, because I was looking at the history, and they're all playing against each other, just playing Yahtzee together.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay.
So I just rolled once. Actually, it rolls automatically. So I just pick one of the scorings.
Thus is like, well, I actually crunched the numbers, and Scrooge Junk Duck is really good at Yahtzee. So who do we think's good at Yahtzee?
Yeah, okay, let's look at who's winning the Yahtzee games. Let's do some real analysis here.
And we see Barnawal has his favorite board game is actually Yahtzee. So just to throw that out here.
Oh, man. I've seen enough.
Probably a reference. We are here. Here. We can move on. We still see Hexteeth Penguin are just having totally unique opinions on which ones are the best. And also for the last game, we see the Oran game with the Penguin. And while talking about the auction, we also see here, everyone wants to play the Oran.
Yeah, it seems like one person wants to play Oran there in a setup that no one else is really enthusiastic about them.
But
and
we haven't talked
multiples of 5.
We haven't talked too much about Kara, the bird.
Mm-hmm.
Here we have a triple dig in round 1 on D5.
That's probably Danny B.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of the few moves that is named after someone.
I don't think I've seen it before as CM.
That's pretty cool.
It seems so expensive.
Didn't Jekyll do that at Terra Mystica? Am I crazy on this? Do you remember this? I feel someone did it at Terra Mystica. I want to say it was Jekyll.
I don't know.
My follow-up question would be, did she win that game?
I don't know. There's a lot of games, but someone did it at Terra Mystica. It might have been Jekyll. lock it down.
If it was a semifinal game, the Jekyll won, like conclusive evidence. I've seen all I need to.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Fickles is chiming in chat. It was the semifinal game that she won on a tiebreaker where she did that triple dig as Chaos Magicians.
Oh yeah,
100%.
I mean, I already wrote it down in my notepad. I know it's her.
Yeah.
Come on.
To me, that's crazy. She needs to teach me how to play CM because how does she pull that off?
I think it just makes such a big difference if you're going to get a town on E8. Because the alternative, like, you abandon that sanctuary or you like bridge twice. I don't know. I think it's situational for sure. Just very situational.
Yeah, she ended up on red here, Kara.
Wow, Ellen playing Darklings. What a Halai move.
Such a high move. Getting the least.
You seem pretty certain on this one.
He doesn't like the fan factions, right? And everyone else had prospectors more prioritized than Ellen in that Darklings game. Just another small indicator, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try to wrap this up with some final predictions here. If you had to choose one player for every account here.
Okay, let's knock off the easy ones. We said Hex Thief Penguin is deep finesse, right? I still agree with that after going through all the games.
Yeah, I'm with you.
We think Kara is Jekyll. We think Ellen is Halai. Right? I feel like those are the three I'm locked in on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still, for the Scrooge Young Duck being George Shortwell. Like, I didn't see anything that talked me off of that. And I feel like that puts Bob the Combat Wombat as Barnwell.
You mentioned Gary on GDI earlier.
Oh yeah, but Andas had that as Zevak. Agree to disagree.
I've got Gary. Yeah, just agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah.
I've got guesses for 6 of them. I think Ellen's Halai, Walta is Kezelu, Hex Thief is Deep Finesse, Scrooge is George, Gary is Zevok, and Kara is Jekyll. So for me, I'm missing. There are 4. I have no thoughts at all about Sad Panda, Bob, Olaf, or Rick.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put Olaf as Tensor. Because I said some of the moves that Olaf was making were kind of I'm playing at a table with players that are better than me and I want to throw them off their meta. And we said Tensor is kind of the newer to the crowd, like hasn't been playing as long, lower elo. So that's a vibe for me there.
Okay, I think yeah, go on.
So we haven't talked about Max at all. Like, he's played the most games recently, and I have no thoughts at all other than he likes Fakirs and no one's playing Fakirs. So does anyone have any Max insights?
He just usually beats me. That's all I have to say. And I feel like he plays pretty greedy sometimes, pretty often in these high level tables. He gets away with some Earth 1, War 1 games.
Yeah, we didn't really look at the favorite tiles much.
Yeah. I didn't cover that as much. But in general, there have been very few Earth 1, War 1 taken so far. So there
Curious if any of the players are like. There was was it Gary who did Water 1 Mermaids into Earth 1 in the second round?
Yeah.
And that's the one that Nerdcube and I agreed to disagree on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm starting to rethink that, but who knows?
Do you have any thoughts on a sad panda? Just the interesting thing there being that like there were several games where a sad panda like had little to no bidding. Like, is that anyone in particular to you, Andas? Like, who would like, yeah, bid very little?
Was it just some strange thing to do in general?
Yeah, no idea. They ended up playing Conspirators twice, which, yeah, I mean, I don't even know what that implies.
I got Walter the Walrus, like small vibes for Max. No real reason, just vibes. So I'm gonna say that's Max, and I'm gonna go Kezlu as a sad panda because I don't know anything.
Walter's the two bridges in the first is like bridges in the first two rounds on Giants.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that's Kezlu. But
Okay.
I don't know.
Should we call it there?
Yeah, sounds good. I feel like I made enough guesses that I will feel silly later.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
That's the good part. So don't worry. Thank you so much for joining us, all the viewers and Andas and Nerdcube. Give them an applause. And then we'll see if we get some more streams later for this. See you all.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys.